Here we are, and we are back. That's right. This is the Race and Ethnic Relations on Campus podcast show. That's right. We are back. This is show number 3. And I know you've been waiting for show number 3. And I am Dr. Bailey. Dr. B. That's right. Dr. B. Bringing it. Each and every podcast show. And I started these new podcast shows, Race and Ethnic Relations on Campus, because it's necessary. It's been building. And I had to spend some time redirecting a lot of different things. And now we are always committed to a podcast show. So this is show number 3. Thank you for following my podcast shows. Of course, I have another podcast show, Race and Ethnic Relations, Race and Health Disparities podcast show. Hello, that's a little crossover publicity. Crossover publicity. The Ethnic Health Disparities podcast show. But this is the Race and Ethnic Relations on Campus podcast show. Let's get this going. Again, this is Preface show number 3 and Preface number 2, and it's related to my new book, Race and Ethnic Relations on Campus: Understanding, Empowerment, and Solutions for College Students. That's right. Wow, there are a lot of issues, and again, I feel so committed because I also have a college class that's entitled Race and Ethnic Relations: Discovering New Solutions, and we covered a lot of excellent issues, but now I really want to branch out to the larger issues with these podcast shows, and I'm going to cover the portion of my preface in my book on number 2, which will cover, this is re-examining my time in Wilberforce, Ohio, Xenia, Ohio, and Miami, Ohio, Miami University, Oxford, Ohio. Again, these are very important. I just want to give you a backdrop to where I am approaching race and ethnic relations on campus. So again, this is a backdrop. This is giving you some back story history of myself and why I feel very, very much committed to all the issues on race and ethnic relations on campus in 2019, 2020, and beyond, because my students are telling me it truly is a very challenging experience at predominantly white institutions, PWIs, in 2019 and 2020 and beyond. And so I want to better understand. There you go. Oh, wow. I'm 3 minutes in, 3 minutes and 40 seconds. I want to better understand what my students going through, what the current generation is going through when they come to college campuses. And I think these podcast shows will enlighten college students and their families, their parents, friends, because we have to talk about this issue because it's constantly being overlooked. And I feel like I no longer want to be an observer. And what I mean by an observer, I'm observing this as a college professor. And I'm tired of, yes, I am tired of being an observer. I want to be engaged. I want to help. And I do mean help current, future college students to get along with each other. Wow. What a revelation. Let me just give a little pub. Again, if you want to follow me, please subscribe to my podcast on Podbean. I'm on iTunes. Yes, I have to update my iTunes information. I'm on iTunes. I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. And please email me at ejb678@gmail.com for any question, any comment, and subscribe to my podcast. That's right. We're expanding out. And it's so rewarding. And thank you for the followers that are building on Podbean. I mean, I'm just so delighted. And share the information with your other friends. And I tweet out information on a regular basis. And let me just say, my folks on Instagram, thank you so much. They just respond very well. So I have my Instagram followers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I got my Podbean followers. Thank you, subscribers. Thank you. Again, if you have any comments, don't hesitate to email me at ejb678@gmail.com. Okay, this is preface number 2. And I left off talking about, from preface number 1, my backstory of my years, my early years. And again, I got to preface myself. I'm 60 years old. Yes, a proud 60-year-old African-American multiracial male. And growing up in the state of Ohio. Very proud to have grown up in the state of Ohio, the Buckeye State. Okay, so a little shout out to the Buckeye State. So I left off with moving from Springfield to Wilberforce and what that meant to my family, my parents, my mom and dad, Gene and Roger, and my brother. My brother Dwight. That we moved, and I had three other brothers, Billy, Ronnie, and and Michael, and so we, not collectively, but it was just, we moved from Springfield to Wilberforce. And I'm going to read this portion. I'm 7 minutes in. I want to read this portion of the preface to give you even more backstory of myself. So here we go. Living and growing up in Wilberforce, Ohio, and the Valley, it was called the Valley, from 1965 through the rest of my formative young adult and college years, except 1968 and 69, in which we lived in Wyoming, Ohio, close to our grandmother and grandfather Lula and John Ballou, along with many of our relatives in Cincinnati on my mom's side of the family, the Pughs, Johnsons, Daniel, Ballows, and Samuel. Was an unbelievably magical upbringing that any young kid would enjoy. Definitely enjoy. Oh my gosh. So, again, moving close to our family in Cincinnati, there were so many young African American families like ours starting their lives in the Valley in Wilberforce, which helped to establish strong bonds of support and cultural pride among all of us who lived in the Valley and throughout Wilberforce. Yeah, Wilberforce was. I kind of glossed over that. It was great to live in Wyoming, Ohio, next to my mother's relatives, and that was a transition, a major transition, and living with my grandparents. That was eye-opening and yet rewarding. That's where I got my really. I can remember my pride, my traditions, looking at my grandparents, seeing how they work, seeing how they go about their lives. My grandmother, who owned a beauty salon in Wyoming, Ohio. My grandfather, who worked at one of the major industries in Wyoming, and really established a strong tradition. And they were and actually they were phenomenal themselves, moving from Kentucky to Wyoming, Ohio. That's a complete different history. But that's where I get my pride of seeing my grandparents work so hard, and how they moved up or made changes in the large family that they had. So learned a lot in Cincinnati, but we really established ourselves. My family, my parents and I established ourselves in Wyoming, in Wilberforce, Ohio. So in Wilberforce, there were also lots and lots of kids in the Valley. In fact, several levels of age range of kids, from newborns to my age range, 7 to 8 years of age, to my older brother Dwight's age, 11 to 12 years of age, to the next 4-year age range. And then the next 4 years, let me make sure, next 4-year age group, then the college kids. Indeed, the Valley had lots and lots of kids, along with lots of vacant wooded lots to play during these early years. My core set of friends in the Valley consisted of Donnie Miller, Carl Miller, Lucretia Mays, Kim Kidd, Judy Walker, Mitzi Turney, and of course, Leanne Richardson. We were all in the same age range, and practically all of us developed a strong friendship bond, primarily because we spent so much time together playing in the weeds, vacant lots, cornfields, and the creek. Yes, we were the Valley was next to a farmer's land, and we were next to the cows, next to the cornfields, and yeah, it was so spacious. It was an unbelievable environment. Yet my core set, I had my core set of friends in the Valley, yet my core set of friends when I attended public school were oftentimes completely different than my Wilberforce Valley friends. The obvious difference between my core set of friends from the public schools and my Wilberforce friends was their race. A majority of my friends at all public schools were white, and my friends in Wilberforce and the Valley were black, African American. It also didn't matter whether a person was mixed or not. He or she was classified as either white or black. It was not intentional, but that was the way it was during the 60s. I made friends based upon our likes and dislikes, not because of one's race. Thus, my relations with other races truly started during these formative years in attending public school in Xenia, Ohio from 1965 to 1976. Wow. Again, those were some fantastic years, but those of us from the Valley, we were bussed. Now, here's an experiment. We were purposely bussed from the Valley all the way to Xenia, Ohio, on the other side of town of Xenia, Ohio, because at that time they wanted to start integration, and they wanted to find the, I guess, they wanted to find the African Americans, blacks, who were most likely to be friendly of integrating, and we were that set of folks who were integrating the entire area. So the public school system that all of us had to attend was located in Xenia, Ohio, 2 miles away. Kids living in Wilberforce were bused every day, like I just said, morning and afternoon, from all parts of Wilberforce to Xenia and our designated elementary, junior high, and high school. The Xenia school system had several elementary schools throughout the town, yet a majority of the Wilberforce and Valley kids, as I just indicated, attended a designated elementary school. Tecumseh Elementary. In junior high, it was Warner Junior High. In high school, it was Xenia High. Once I graduated from Xenia High School in 1976, yes, very proud Buccaneer of Xenia, Ohio, I was ready to expand my network of friends, challenge myself and even more academically, and gain even more exposure to other parts of Ohio. That's why I was fortunate that my parents supported my college education to attend Miami University, Oxford, Ohio. My parents, Gene and Roger, not only wanted me to get my college education from a major public university with high academic standards, but more importantly, they wanted me to get the exposure to other races that I would not achieve if I stayed locally. Now, this is where I'm going to stop reading from the preface and provide some backdrop, because, again, I received, as a kid during the 60s, not received, but you could just feel the little bit of tension when, in elementary, junior high, and high school. Again, I had two sets of friends. Friends that I socialized with, had great friendships, best friends at the public schools. So many best friends. And, Yet I had my best friends in the valley who were of a different race, ethnicity. And that was fine. Hello. That's just the way it was. And what was so fascinating, we eventually, well, that helped me truly helped me learn to get along with people who were different than me. It was fine getting along with people who looked like me, and I loved my friends. Oh my gosh, we had the best of times in the valley with all my close friends and others. The best of, and we're still friends. The lifelong friends. Hello, you can't get better than your valley friends. You really can't. That's a bond that's beyond. It's just a very special bond with all my valley friends. And yet I had a special bond with the friends who were different than me, but we got along because we had different likes together. And I can't tell you how much that helped me get adjusted and learn that it's okay to have people of different likes, dislikes, look different than you, different life histories, and you find out different things that you have in common. Particularly the courses that we took. I played football. I had my football friends, my great buddies, and playing football from elementary, junior high, and high school. I was fortunate to play throughout those years and perform very well, and yet. To the best of my ability, because I'm a short little guy, the shortest thing around. So I already had a chip on my shoulder, being the shortest little guy. let me just say, being a minority, but I was being again going to a new school system, being a black African American Negro kid at that time, and trying to establish friends with people who were different than me, and it was hard for a lot of us to get acclimated to a new school system and try to be friends with people who were different than you. And we received, let me just be honest, there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of hate. They weren't readily to accept us. Let me just say this, particularly during this early 60s. They weren't, the other side of town in Xenia, they weren't ready to accept us, but we all, in a different way, we all had to make adjustments because this was the social experiment during the 60s and 70s, the integration that needed to happen. And we were at the front lines. Our older brothers and sisters, there was a lot of protests. There was a lot of, confrontation. But I'm talking about my generation of friends, we were placed in the role, and I do believe, this is my perception, do believe that we were placed in the role of integrating blacks and whites in that area. That's the reason why we were bused, and we had to get on the bus early in the morning, pitch dark most of the time, walk from our homes up to Route 42 to this small little place on the top of the hill and stand there. Stand there for maybe, a number of minutes or hours. Sometimes it seems like so long, waiting for our bus to pick us up, and then we had to pick up all the other kids. The bus ride every morning was at least an hour just to get to school. Hello. And then you get to school, you go to schools that with folks who don't look like you. So you have to get adjusted to that. And my parents said my mom and dad said you have to get exposure. You have to get through this. Somehow, some way, you get through it. So my brother Dwight and I, we were there. As well as all my Valley friends, we were there. That was establishing race relations during the 60s and the 70s. It wasn't easy at all. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It wasn't easy at all. It was scary. It was nerve-wracking. But it was rewarding too. Because, again, from my perspective, I met so many new friends. Learned about their lives. Connected with people who I would have never had the opportunity to. So, from this kid perspective, I'm a proponent of integration, proponent of public schools. I didn't necessarily care for the bus rides for all the time, but that's just the way it was back then. Not now, obviously, but back then it was necessary. Didn't agree with it wholeheartedly. A lot of African Americans, blacks, did not agree with it. They decided not to, opted out. I understand it. I don't blame them. But I have to say that my early years in elementary and the great friends that I had in elementary, oh my gosh, the names are countless. I mean, I connected so well with my new friends who were different than me. And they mean the world to me because they opened my eyes to new issues, new understanding, new families, their way of life, their history, their culture. I would not have received that if I just stayed and went to school in one area. And I'm just going to say if I went to school with people who always looked like me. And my parents always wanted Dwight and I and my older brothers to get exposure to other cultures, other people. That was so important. That's the reason why we moved from Springfield to Wilberforce to get exposure. Then to Wilberforce to Xenia to get exposure. Very important. Extremely important. And my core set of friends in Wilberforce in the Valley mean the world to me. And my core set of friends, and I didn't have that many. I really didn't have that many friends in the public. But the friends that I had, they were very important to me. They understood me. They just treat me like any other person. And again, I had a lot of things in my mind going against me. In my mind. But in actuality, I really didn't have anything going against me. So I was always, oh my gosh, this is very personal, with a chip on my shoulder, trying to prove myself. And really trying to build my network of friends and learn about the world. And if it wasn't for that experience back in Springfield, when my teacher taught me in the hospital, and I said, if this person who is a white, Caucasian, European American female spend this much time teaching me my lessons, I'm going to take the time to learn more in education, but also expand my friendship network back then. And many times, let me just say this, many times some of my friends, you have your set of white friends and your set of black friends, the so-called black African American friends. And sometimes it's hard to negotiate at times when you're at school because you have your friends. And who do you socialize with the most? And sometimes when you socialize so much back then, I'm just saying back then, you socialize so much with your white friends, your black friends will say, oh, you're a sellout. What are you doing? Why are you spending so much time with your white friends? And then if you're spending too much time with your black friends, your white friends will say, oh, you're a militant. You're all of this. You're not wanting to integrate or socialize with us. So again, I was a person always going in between and never really just had one set of friends. And that's the way it really was back then. But that helped me. And like I said, that experience prepared me, truly prepared me for the major exposure to at Miami University, of predominantly all white university, particularly during the mid 1970s, for that experience. So again, and many of my African American black friends would not have even ventured on Miami University campus back then because it was so daggone white. It was white. Now the white Caucasian friends, and you would barely see an African American or a person of color on campus. You could walk on, and like, where are the black people at? Oh, there's one. There's another. It was like that during 1976. But my parents wanted me to get exposure, and I said, I'm going to go there. I'm gonna manage this somehow, some way. And I'm setting this up for again for the next show number 4. But I just have to get this portion of the preface out. I'm 26 minutes in. I'm gonna finish this out. There you go. Wow, this got very personal. This podcast show getting bored. I'm going to another level of personal, and then show number 4. Oh my gosh, she's going to get personal even more. So there you go. This is podcast show number 3, race and ethnic relations on campus, preface number 2. I am Dr. B. Send me an email at ejb678@gmail.com. Subscribe to my podcast show. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube. Thank you very much, folks. I've gone a little bit long, but thank you, and see you on the next show. See you. Peace.